welcome to the Chile Today podcast. I'm Bethany Francis.
And I'm Lenny Kluge.
We're two immigrants living in Chile talking about Chilean news, cultural events, travel, business, and more.
If you want to support our podcast, check out our Patreon at www.patreon.com/The Chile Today Podcast. That's one word. www.patreon.com/The Chile Today Podcast.
Hey, Lenny.
Hey, Bethany.
What are you doing?
I'm here sitting, looking at my screen and eating chips or whatever's left of it. And
Chips and golf sauce,
Chips and golf sauce.
which is famous in South America and Utah.
Which is a fancy name for mayo and ketchup mashed together.
Did you know I researched this once?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, but golf sauce, which is mayonnaise and ketchup mixed together, is super popular in South America, specifically Chile, Argentina situation.
It's got to be the egg then, because mayo is made with egg.
Calm down.
Fine.
It's also oddly only popular in Utah, which I don't remember what it's called in Utah, but I researched this because I was curious because there are a lot of Mormons in Chile and Argentina, and the theory is that the Mormons brought it to Chile. Or that Chile brought Chile, Argentina, or they're not sure which came first, the chicken or the egg, but there's a relationship between the Mormons in Utah liking golf sauce.
How did that go down? They were like, would you be interested in hearing more about the Book of Mormon? People here just like, nah.
Here's some chips and golf sauce.
I'm going to sweeten the pot a little bit. Have you ever heard of golf sauce? Oh, well, come in. Tell me more.
I know. So that's my, anyway, I got real curious one day and went down a rabbit hole of Chile ketchup mayonnaise. And yeah, there's a lot of Mormons in Chile, if you didn't know.
Yep. People always call me a Mormon when I still had a job where I had to wear a suit and a tie.
Yeah, you'll see all the white people walking in the street with the suit, the white shirt with the pants and
me
the
on
pin.
my bike with a helmet.
Aww, little
And people
Mormon.
were just like, you just need a black name tag and you're complete.
And you're done.
You're
You're
done.
there. You're there, brother.
Elder Lenny, they call me.
Is that what they say, elder?
Yeah.
It's because you're old. Okay, so events. Events coming up. The next event is going to be on August 26th. So it's a bilingual comedy show in Providencia at the Gran Refugio. Tell them a little bit more about that, Lenny.
It's gonna be a bilingual comedy show.
I
know, but bears repeating. I'm gonna be performing. Actually, I'm probably gonna do Spanish.
Where's the bear?
Where's the what? What bear?
You said bears repeating.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm probably gonna do Spanish bit. Not quite sure yet, but looks like it. And there's gonna be
He's
really
really funny when he speaks Spanish.
Apparently not when I'm speaking English, or apparently that's what you're insinuating.
Yeah, no.
Thank you, Bethany. But there are going to be 4 more performers and 1 host. It's going to be at the Gran Refugio in the Barrio Italia, not the one in the center. Watch out for that. Don't go to the wrong place. It's the new place. It's nice. Mm-hmm. And I think you could also make a case that it's a bit safer than in the center, so maybe you
Oh my
feel
goodness,
a bit
calm
safer.
down.
Yeah, things happen, but okay.
Like 2 blocks away.
They're 2 blocks from each other, dude.
Well...
Okay. Anyway, so on August 30th, we also have a really cool book exchange. All you have to do to that one is bring a book in English that you don't mind trading with another person. We're going to play a game to see which book you're going to get. It's going to be super fun.
It's called Knife Fight.
It's called Knife Fight for books. No, it's not that intense.
Oh, man.
And it's going to be really fun. So all you have to do is bring a book in English. Again, all of these events are going to have more info on our Instagram and our Facebook. So if you're a little bit confused and you don't remember the dates, check those out. And then what's our last event?
Our last event is going to be the recently moved pub quiz, the trivia night, on the 10th of September, which was originally to be held on the 20th?
The 20th of August.
But for reasons we had to move it, and now we're going to be holding it on September 10th. So it's going to be kind of like 1 week before the Fiestas Patrias, actually. So
get your fiesta on early.
Get your fiesta on. Yeah, actually, we do it before because you still have your brain cells to answer the questions.
Answer questions.
Yeah,
that would be fun. Like, we could do the same questions before and after to see how...
It's good. It sounds like a scientific study.
Yeah.
Studies have shown that
you can be asked the exact same questions and get them wrong when you got them right the first time after Fiestas Patrias.
That's right.
Yeah. And,
Yeah,
of course,
so,
if you're a Patreon follower, you are going to not only get a lot of other cool info about chilling out in Chile, but you're going to get discounts or free beer or something at all of those events. And yeah, so you should be on our Patreon. And if you're visiting Chile, it's always a good thing because we have tips there. What apps do you need on your phone? How's the best way to get around? Where's the best brunch spots? All that stuff. We spend a lot of time doing research, so you don't have to.
I just heard something else, but
What?
we have tips there. Was that what did you say?
That's the tip.
Yeah, we get tips there.
That's patreon.com/the Chile Today podcast. So check that out. And any more info, you can always ask us on other internet social medias.
That's correct. We're here for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You need a
have such a
shoulder
soft
to lean
voice.
on. I know. I'm a soft guy. I just look scary.
Yeah, you are soft. Okay, news.
News. You start with the news.
Am I starting?
You are starting with the news.
Oh, so there's been a massive sinkhole that just was discovered in Chile, and authorities are quite perplexed and puzzled.
Yeah.
So,
Odds are, if you don't even if you don't follow Chilean news, odds are that you've heard of it because that thing has made the rounds.
well, they're like sinkholes are like I have friends who are
You're gonna be-
irrationally scared of sinkholes
Really?
because they just appear. Like you just be walking down the street and suddenly a sinkhole, like because they appear like
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a slow thing. It's
that
like bam.
suck.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like a portal to another realm kind of situation.
I mean, it does look like a portal to
It,
hell.
it does. And anyway, so we just got one in Chile. We got our own sinkhole. Yeah,
Finally,
we're number
Chile
one.
number one.
It's 656 feet from top to bottom. And it opened up over on the first weekend of August. And it could fit the entire Washington Monument inside with 100 feet to spare.
Use the metric
Yes, I was just thinking the same thing.
No, I will not use the
I
metric
will
system.
use
I will
multiples
use
of
anything.
Washington
I will use
monuments.
I am an American, and I will use the Washington Monument
Scale.
the Washington Monument scale with 100 more feet, so that you understand
Just for good measure.
just how big it. Just for good measure, and just to avoid the metric system. Okay. So the officials are working out to determine what the cause of the massive sinkhole was, but it's probably mining. It was near the mining town of Tierra Amarilla. And it's also a wide sinkhole, so they were just talking about how deep it is, but it's also fairly wide. And the National Geology and Mining Service, also called Cernahyomin, first estimated the diameter to be about 82 feet wide, but it's proved to be even larger upon further inspection. So it's about 105 feet wide, actually. I just wanted to say, the Washington Monument is only 55 feet wide, by the way.
Fine.
So, there is the agency said that they haven't detected any material, but there is a large presence of water. So the land is
something.
owned by a Canadian mining corporation called Lundin Mining Corp. And it's near the company's Minera Ojos del Salado copper mining operation. And the company said that was Monday. That was what day was the August 6th, I believe. Sorry. Yeah.
Was it Monday?
Monday, August 6th.
No. We are August.
We're in the past and you're in the future. The first.
God damn it.
Said on the 1st that the sinkhole has been stable since it was detected and there have been no injuries. So, one of the mines nearby is also being monitored as to make sure that there is no movement related to the sinkhole. As a preventative measure, the mine has been temporarily closed to monitor the sinkhole hole. So they're still trying to determine the specific cause, but if you don't know, sinkholes are pits that form suddenly, like really kind of scarily, over areas where water gathers underground without any external drainage, causing the water to carve out subterranean caverns. Live Science previously has reported about this. Sinkholes also form regularly near old and active mines, so this is not that surprising, where large amounts of rock and ore have been extracted. Kind of like the fact that we don't have more sinkholes is kind of surprising.
Mines, yeah.
The thing that you do in mines.
Yeah.
Sinkholes sometimes form gradually over many years, but can often quite suddenly happen, taking cars, homes, and even streets down with them.
And Washington monuments.
Into the Washington Monument. That's where it went.
Not only one.
It's not there anymore. Check.
It moved to Chile and then it just disappeared in the sinkhole. It's the only reason it
The
exists.
Washington Monument disappeared from Washington. It
Yep.
appeared in
The
Chile.
Washington Monument got up in Washington, was like, my time has come. This is the day that I've been waiting for. I'm going to Chile.
Mm-hmm.
It was
So-
supposed to be part of the Moai heads, but just
Didn't get made the cut.
What
this is
part
getting
of the
out of
Moai head is it? Okay, so Cristobal Zuniga, who's the mayor of Tierra Maria, told the local radio station that the Alcaparrosa mining operation has already taken a toll on its community. And according to the mayor, tremors and daily blastings from the mines have just, quote, destroyed houses, streets, and today have even destroyed the ground. Today it happened in a space that is already an agricultural property, but our greatest fear now is that this could happen in a populated place, on a street, or in a school. That's the thing. This was not a populated place, and the sinkhole just appeared completely suddenly. But that's true. That is really scary.
Right.
So,
And I'm by no means a synchologist, but
a geologist.
Synchologist.
A geologist. We'll
A
go with that.
synchologist. A specialist in syncol.
He doesn't know
No,
anything
but-
about holes,
Ooh, a
ladies,
sinkhole
and men.
sink.
Holy shit. Okay. I've set myself up for that one.
Yeah.
I gotta admit. No, but
Psychologist.
what?
Syncologist.
Syncologist.
Pinguino, we're
Nice.
done. We're done. Move
No.
on.
But no, what I was saying is, like, I mean,
Really?
if you see
Funny.
pictures,
You
pictures
should.
of this whole thing, I mean, it's almost perfectly round. It looks very man-made. I'm talking about the sinkhole. I don't even know where your head went right now, but I'm trying to do a very serious
Just
news.
look. We'll put pictures on Instagram
Thingy,
of
just-
the sinkhole, not what he's talking about.
Look at the round sinkhole.
It's so round.
Fine. Got any more?
Better.
No, I'm good. It's your
You
turn.
good? Okay.
It's your turn.
I'm gonna talk about
I already went.
something that is a lot more
I can't
exciting than sinkholes. I'm going to talk about tax reform. Ooh,
Oh.
yeah, I can already see.
I'm the fun parent in the podcast.
Yep. I can already see your eyes glazing over. So let's see. As you all know, Chile is an OECD country since 2010.
OECD. It's like
OCD?
OCD. What?
No. Yeah, it's always very...
Boric have OCD?
But President Boric does have OCD.
Yeah, so Chile now is officially on OECD. It's
He
also
is
an OCD country.
diagnosed, not the fake OCD that people are like, oh my gosh, my pins have to
Yeah,
be in
that's
a
OCD.
line.
So Chile is an OECD country since 2010, but still lags behind its peers with regard to a couple of things. And one of these things are taxes and tax income.
Texas.
Taxes.
We have
Yeehaw.
less taxes than the rest of the world.
We have
Yeah.
less Texas?
Yeah, only the US has
We
more
only
taxes.
have Mason, which is our friend from Texas.
Yeah, that's right. So actually, what you just said is right, because Chile has by far the lowest tax burden on income among all OECD members.
Jesus, and why is it so expensive to buy
With
books in this
7%, oh, that's a completely different can of worms. But with 7%, it's even less than half than the second to last country on that list has, which is New Zealand, which has 16.9.
Right.
Like
And
that's
this is on
second to
corporations,
last.
right?
No, that's income. That's just income
Oh, that's
tax.
income tax.
Yeah, that's income
Ah.
tax. Which, on an individual level, that's, great, but it also puts Chile squarely on third to last place when it comes to tax revenue as a percentage of the country's GDP. Because with merely 20.7%, it's just ahead of Mexico and Colombia. And as a reference, the OECD average is 33.8. So Chile 20.7, OECD average 33.8. But to be fair, Chile, Colombia, and Mexico also share the bottom three places of GDP per capita. So there's a little correlation there. Now, in order to catch up with their peers,
Catch up.
right? And
Sauce,
in
sauce.
order to be able to finance the social welfare programs that are coming down the pike, as well as like upcoming costs of the country's decentralization endeavors, Finance Minister Mario Marcel presented the administration's project for a tax reform. This reform is supposed to increase tax revenue by 4.1% of the GDP, which is about $12 billion, or as they say, 12,000 million.
Millones.
And is supposed to be implemented gradually over the next couple of years. It's still only a project, and it has to be discussed in Congress, but it proposes some interesting changes, I think, and some of which would actually concern your average Joe. Honestly, I think I could... Average Jane, if you will. And honestly, I think we could probably make this an episode of its own, but,
Your average Jose.
more than 10 minutes of this will probably make your nose bleed and your eyes glaze over, so, I'm just going to touch on a couple of key points here, because I'm nice and I've learned my lesson. Let's first talk about changes to the income tax. So first off, 97% of people will not be affected by the income tax changes, including the 75% that earn so little that they are exempt anyway from taxes.
Right.
So no worries. The first changes will be made to the fifth tax bracket, which concerns people that earn more than 4 million per month approximately, which is, I wish I was part of that segment. But
Definitely I'm not.
Yep.
I'm not even in my household income.
Yeah, no. So the changes to the fifth and the following tax brackets are that the tax rates will be slightly higher. From for example, in the fifth tier, they're going to be lifted from 23% to 26%, and in the sixth tier from 30 to 35%, and so on and so forth. And the income thresholds of the three biggest tax brackets will be lowered at the same time. So if you earn, let's say, 7 million a month, hypothetically.
Well, hypothetically, Bethany, if you earn 7 million.
Have it.
Oh gosh, getting close there.
Oh boy, yeah. So if you, let's say you earn 7 million per month, I mean that high number because otherwise it wouldn't affect you. Currently, you'd still be in the sixth tax bracket, paying a marginal income tax of 30%. Under the new proposal, you'd be bumped up to the seventh tax bracket. So they don't only crank up the percentages, but they also lower the thresholds of when you get into the next tax bracket, if that makes any sense. Now, the difference is especially noticeable between the seventh and the eighth tier, because currently you could earn around 18 million pesos per month and still wouldn't be in the highest tax bracket.
Jesus.
The new proposal will lower that threshold to about 8 million.
Be
So
nice.
they're gonna slash that by 10 million, and I think that's, I assume that's probably gonna be one of the changes that's gonna have the biggest impact.
And I'm sure that's going to be funding what I'm going to talk about next. So
Now, next thing is support for the middle class. The plans to take the plans. That's a great phrasing of that I put there. It's the tax reform.
planification.
Yeah, the project plans to take the burden off the shoulders of the middle class and those in precarious socioeconomic situations. Because the draft of the reform would allow for rental costs to be deduced from deduced or deducted? Deducted, right. Would be allowed to deduct it from their income in order to calculate their income tax with a maximum of 450,000 per month. So, for example, if somebody earns 2 million before taxes and pays 500 in rent per month, they can deduct not 500 but 450 because that's the maximum that you can deduct, right?
Nice.
From their income. So basically, that their income tax will only be calculated based on an income of theoretically 1,550,000.
Right. Okay. So
You know
there's
what I
a
mean?
tax deduction based on your rent.
Exactly, based on the rent that you pay. So that would, also effectively that would land you in another tax bracket in this particular scenario, right? So that's awesome for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, of course, I worked hard on this tax reform proposal. It took me a couple of hours to draft it. So the same would also go for costs related to caretaking of children. So the same would go for costs related to caretaking of children younger than 2 years, or people with, quote, severe dependencies, which I assume includes people with disabilities and the elderly. In the proposal, they highlighted that they mean to incorporate a gender perspective, as it's usually women that take care of caretaking, so to speak, which made me cringe a little bit, but all right,
No, but I mean, at least...
I mean, yes, it's the reality of the situation, but at the same time, I feel it's kind of like fostering a stereotype, you know what I mean? It's not a stereotype, but in a way, you want more men also to take care of that, so...
Right, but the
You get what I mean, right?
I know what you mean, but at the same time, there is such a high burden of the responsibility legitimately on women to take care of children because, for example, the way that maternity leave is situated in this country, it is maternity leave, not really paternity leave. So the burden of that caretaking does go to the woman.
Yeah, no. I mean, we agree on that one.
And,
It's just...
so I understand what it's saying, and all of that type of labor is not credited, and as it is culturally, that labor goes to women. It just does. Unfortunately, I wish we could change that. But the way that sociology works is you got to change with reforms before you can change the culture. So
change the world. Make it a better place. So
be a unicorn.
Be a unicorn.
Spread your wings.
Unicorn is awesome, yeah.
I lost the metaphor.
Unicorns don't
I lost the metaphor.
Yeah, that would be Pegasus, even though would be
Valkyrie.
Nice cross. Okay, back on track.
Dragons.
So, apparently, so from what I understood first is that because because what they're trying to do here to say, hey, if you have costs associated with caretaking, you can also deduct this from your tax calculation base in order to pay lower income tax. But then I heard somebody explain on TV that apparently this doesn't apply for just your average mom, whatever. You can't just basically hand in the receipt for diapers.
Right.
And apparently this only works if you have hired somebody to do the caretaking. Which
so
then
you have a
again,
nana.
that would, but then again, that wouldn't really be such a focus on the middle class after all. So I don't know. It's still up for the
I
debate.
mean,
So,
but here's the thing. This is the thing. The middle
tell me the
class
thing.
in Chile, they mostly all have nanas. Even the middle class. Like, they don't, I'm not saying that the nanas get paid what they should get paid, but I'm telling you, all of my friends that are my age, that don't make more than I make, have nanas for their kids. To take care of their kids when they're at work.
Fine, but then also like the point of this whole thing is not to only help the middle class, but also
But
like
these are middle class reforms.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. I mean,
But that's
okay,
what you
it's okay. Yeah, well, no, the title was like helping the middle class, but I think who would benefit? Okay, well, not necessarily the poorest would benefit because they don't have to pay income tax anyway. But then again,
Right,
you know,
so-
you start paying income tax if you earn more than 7,000 per month, which is really not that much.
No, but what I'm saying is like I want to emphasize that, for example, having in the U.S. having a nana is an upper kind of thing to take care of your kids.
Yeah, no.
It's
Same in
very
Europe.
expensive.
Same in
It's
Europe.
super not something very common. Here, it is extremely common for the average Joe and Jane and gender neutral name, Jaina.
Robin.
The average Robin,
I don't
the
know.
average penguin, to hire a nana to take care of their kids so that they can work or they can go hang out with their friends or do it. It's part of the culture.
Yeah.
In Chile, actually, I had a student recently. This anecdote that was like, oh yeah, because I was explaining like, oh yeah, my mom. When I grew up, my mom was a working mom, and she goes, "Oh yeah, my mom was a working mom. It didn't bother me at all because I had my nana." And I was like, "No, you don't understand." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. My mom works." But I was trying to tell, I was trying to be like, "Yeah, working moms are great, blah blah blah." I never thought anything else, and she's like, "Yeah, no, because of our nanas." And I was like, "No, I didn't have a nana either." And it still was fun. And she could not understand like this idea of like not having a nana.
Yeah.
Was like totally foreign to her, or like, why wouldn't you hire a nana for your kid? And I'm like, it's just not the culture. It's also not affordable, because they don't pay nanas crap in this country.
Yeah.
They pay them
And I mean,
absolutely crap.
Honestly, I mean, I don't have kids, but we also have like a nana that comes to
That
clean
cleans.
our house once a week, which is actually not a lot because I know a lot of people who have them come in like almost every day or at least
Oh,
like
yeah.
3-4 times a week. But like honestly, like it's hard for me to imagine not having a person that cleans up your house once. Like you get used to it.
Yeah, like
You
it's
really
the
get
it's
used
the
to
thing
it.
is like when I first came here, the idea of having a nana was like, I would never do that now. I still don't have a nana because it's still just not my thing. It's just not me. And neither my fiance, but like my suegra, my mother-in-law, my future mother-in-law,
Cleaning is also
does
not my thing. We just live in it.
No, like I'm
Just
just
kidding.
very personal. I don't like people touch my stuff. And my mother-in-law, my future mother-in-law, cannot understand it for the life of her why we don't have a nana. She has a nana every day come in,
that was the
and she
thing.
lives alone.
I mean, remember when we were on the lockdown and then like for me it was just like, oh my god, we have to clean our own shit now.
Yeah, and everybody's like, we have to clean our own stuff, and I was like,
And then I don't know, like, and I'm
It
not
was
the
a-
only
the
one
Chileans
because
had a crisis.
I talked to people and I was like, I mean, not that I like it, but damn, I clean better than my nana.
I mean, I don't know. And then like also like again like, people who had nanas, with their kids all the time had to be with their kids all the time for the first time, and it was a little complicated because
What was your name again?
oh, you like to eat this, and it was it's a little bit of a, I don't know if I'd say culture shock, but a shock to the system,
Parent
right?
shock, yeah. So that, getting back on track. So let's see, because as I said, like this thing is not even, it's just a project. It's not even in Congress. It has to be debated and there will be changes and yada yada. So let's see what comes of this. Another thing that they will change concerns, that they want to change concerns real estate, because until now,
They're gonna take your property. I'm just kidding.
yeah, because
They're gonna
communism.
take that. They're gonna take that like soundbite and like use it. Look what she said.
Oh yeah, because we are really figures
what
of
else?
public interest here.
Oh hey.
Oh yeah,
dude.
my reputation. You don't touch my reputation. So, when it comes to real estate, until now, income generated from renting out properties was exempt from income taxes as long as the property in question qualified as a DFL DOS. DFL2. So I'm not going to explain the whole thing. In short, DFL2 property is any property smaller than 140 square meters and owned by a person as opposed to a business. That's, and you can
A
own...
devil.
A devil, right? A devil. A devil in disguise. And you can own up to 2 of these DFL2 properties without paying any taxes on rent revenue. That was the kicker here. Now, under the new tax code, this exception will cease to exist, and landlords will have to pay taxes on rental income.
Ha!
Which
Fuckers.
they will then probably pass on to the tenants. I mean, who are we kidding?
God damn it.
But, related to this, the reform will also limit the deductibility of interest paid on mortgage loans in case that you have more than one. Because so right now you could have like 10 mortgage loans, which means that, you don't live in 10 apartments.
No,
maybe
because
you
you
live in
rent
one
them to
apartment
people.
because you rent them to people, and you were eligible to basically deduct the interest that you pay on the mortgage loan. Now they say if you have one mortgage loan, that's fine, you can deduct that, but more than one,
Oh,
that's not fine
good.
anymore.
That's good.
Yeah, that's kind of a loophole that they're closing there. Now, next point is going to be your favorite because it's going to be there's a rich tax.
Yay!
There will be a rich tax, which will, even though
The
it's
ultra rich tax.
yeah, and no, not even. I wouldn't even say ultra rich tax, but it's. I think looking at it, it's so small that I don't really see how it's going to make it. But I'm not an economist, so because that rich tax will only apply to. I don't even know what's funny here, but okay. It will only apply to people with residence in Chile and whose assets in Chile and abroad are between $4.9 and $14.7 million in value.
So small.
In that, yeah, but I wouldn't say ultra rich.
Okay, well, sorry.
I mean-
That's okay, so they're very rich.
Very rich, yeah. So, was I okay? So in that case, they will have to pay 1% of the whole asset value per year, but only on the first $1 million, which means $10,000.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, that's not that much.
That's not that much, but on top of that, they can actually book this tax as an expense and use it to deduce the tax calculation basis for the property tax. On top
I
of
mean,
that,
this is probably just a way in which they're going to make it to where the rich aren't going to fight this bill as much.
yeah, probably. Now, if you own more than 14.7 million, the tax increases to 1.8%. It's really not that much of a hike. And all in all, this will barely affect some 6,000 people in Chile. It's really not that much, honestly.
No.
So, yeah,
We got a lot of billionaires, though, for such a small country.
It's there. And the last thing I think that's
And
worth
millionaires.
mentioning is, which I thought was interesting, the corporate taxes will actually be lowered from 27 to 25%. It will be lowered, but only as long as these 2% difference are used for investments in R&D, research and development, which I think is a
Nice.
pretty cool idea, to be honest.
Like,
And there are a couple of more changes to that proposal. There are a couple of more changes that the proposal
Highlights.
proposes. Yeah,
Yeah.
such as like changes to the capital gain tax, mining royalties, which apparently is a big thing, corrective taxes in order to protect the environment. Closing
mining has been
loopholes,
shaking and moving these past few
Yeah,
weeks.
but your eyes are glazing over, so I'm just gonna.
Your ears
leave it
have
at that.
glaze on them. Glazed donut
Yeah,
ears.
your eyes are bleeding. Your ears are glazing over, or something.
Mm-hmm.
So what you got?
Okay, this is super interesting. I love this.
Almost
so,
as interesting as tax reform.
I personally think it's more interesting, but people might think tax reform is more interesting than this. But this is my jam.
Well, actually.
So the government is presenting an emergency housing plan, and the idea is to build 260,000 houses over the next 4 years while Boric is in government. So my bud Gabrielle, I'm just kidding. Holla! Hey. Together with the Housing and Urban Development Minister, Carlos Montes, and the Portfolio Undersecretary, Tatiana Rojas, presented, quote, the Emergency Housing Plan. This strategy was developed by MINVU, which is the Housing and Urban Development Ministry, to urgently address this deficit, the housing deficit in Chile, which is very much needed, more and more every day. This is part of the latest social and urban development law, which was approved last March. Its objectives include recovering the state's central role in housing planning, so putting more state management there, building 260,000 houses during this government's term, which would cover 40% of the housing requirements.
That is a lot.
That's a lot of. That's good. So
A
I
lot
mean,
of
if it
lots.
can, that's a lot of. Nice. Okay. So the presentation about this was held in the La Moneda Palace. Many government authorities, plus the Housing Committee, of course, were there to see it. Boric emphasized the significance of the plan because, quote, this emergency housing plan must be seen as state policy. This is not something that one government or any other can simply boast about because it's much more far-reaching. He added that it is, quote, time for us to focus on solutions, not replacing, but working hand in hand with residents, with workers, with the public and private sectors to find a solution to this tremendous challenge that our government has taken on. So, Carlos Montes indicated that, quote, this plan aims to strengthen various instruments, the right to decent housing with clear options, which includes a gender focus. Again, not quite sure what they mean by that. Decentralization.
It sounds like they're putting this into everything, like, just for good measure.
Well,
like,
I mean, they did. That was one of the cornerstones of Boric's campaign, was to focus a lot on the gender disparity. Makes sense, because there is bias in this country. I mean, I can tell you this right now. When I walk into an apartment to try to rent it, the conversations I can have as a woman with the real estate agent is going to be completely different than the type of conversations that Mao can have. It's just the way that it is. And so I think that that's important, that there is a gender focus, whether it's, it should exist or not.
Not in disagreement.
So, decentralization, important, not everything focused in Santiago. Participation, planning, and public-private partnership, which is important.
So we got the 5 Ps here.
The participation, planning, and public-private partnership. I like it. Which needed to be
business degree days.
That needed to be said, because again, people get really shaky in their boots when they're like, no, that they're doing something with housing in the state. But public-private partnership. He added that we deeply appreciate that the right to decent housing and the right to the city have been proposed in the new constitution. It's a different way to understand society, this idea of right to housing. However, we cannot wait for this to go into effect with the Constitution. We have to act now. This is our conviction, which is the moral foundation for a free and democratic people. So they're not going to say, we're going to see if this gets approved by the Constitution to see if people have the right to housing. No, we're going to start the ball rolling with the right to housing right now. We're going to put the money into this, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like people are not in need until the new constitution.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Now.
And again, it was a cornerstone of Boric's campaign, and technically Boric can't be involved in the Apruebo Rechazo, so it's like, you gonna do something about it, bro? Do something. Put up put your money where your mouth is, as they say.
Houses where your lots are.
Put your houses where your house is. Okay. So Undersecretary Tatiana Rojas mentioned that, quote, the emergency housing plan has been organized in collaboration with ministerial teams, and especially in conjunction with all of the regions of Chile. We have reflected together on the national and regional housing deficits and analyzed each municipality involving all the regions of Chile was important in building this relevant plan, because the idea is that when we subsequently implement the plan, it will make sense to all communities where it will be implemented, because obviously the type of housing you will need in Talca or Tocapilla or no sé qué will be different than what is feasible or possible in Santiago, for example.
Yeah, sure.
And the cost, right? You can build something cheaper in regions than maybe you can build in Santiago.
I don't know,
Okay, so here's some key points of the housing plan. So it was entrusted to the Minvu, as I said. And the idea is to overcome unequal access to good quality housing, which I appreciate that being a thing. So the key points are to recover the state's role in housing planning and management, because the state pretty much has no role right now, or very little role. Build 260,000 houses during the government's term in office, so Boric's term. Promote projects in all of the country's municipalities and ensure social facilities are included.
Okay, so that means what? Social facilities in this case?
I think that means access to clean water, access to internet, access to things like that, because you can't just put a house in
here's a door,
here's the region with no clean water, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that means it's free. I don't think that's what it means. I think it's you have access to clean water, to the things that you need, etc. Strengthen the public land bank, which means more public land that the government has, right? And diversity for types of access to housing, such as self-management and cooperatives and fair price rentals. So we're not just going to do one thing, right? We're going to do different types of social housing, like some people diversification. So some people can't afford any type of housing. Other people can pay a little bit. Other people want to live, maybe can pay a bit and want to live in maybe a cooperative where the community, which I think awesome, where the community can come in
your
and
bread, man, and grow your own crops.
They actually have pretty good cooperatives in the north of Chile. It's interesting.
Yeah, man.
And then just the promotion of fair rental prices as well is also going to be under this, which, I'm all about that. Developing a direct relationship with residents and local governments, and develop more efficient, modern, and sustainable construction processes for homes as well. So using more sustainable.
That's a good one. I mean, it's probably going to be a bit more expensive to set up, but cheaper in the long run.
Yeah, cheaper in the long run. Cheaper is always cheaper, right? So,
as Confucius said.
As Confucius said.
Cheaper is always
cheaper.
Cheaper
Is always cheaper. That wasn't the Dalai Lama?
No, get your quotes right, man.
Oh my gosh. Okay, the Buddha. It also responds to this. This is also responding to a recent phenomenon in housing demand and the lifestyle of Chilean residents, such as housing mobility and the high rental values that have happened, which we are all living right now. It diversifies access to housing and its tenure, and it includes measurements that respond to informal housing, overcrowding, isolation, encampments, the need for protection, and prolonged wait lists for housing in the case of committees. It also reviewed proposals from regional governments and municipalities, which ensured that its objectives are relevant. So I just want to take a sidestep here. There's within that, there is like a big movement to make it like completely illegal to do what a lot of people do to really, really poor people, especially Haitians, which is like stick like 10 people in one room and then charge them rent, which is a really big problem. And not just Haitians, any poor people, but like this is sort of like the story you hear a lot.
Taxi drivers rant about that. Those Haitians are driving the prices up.
Yeah, and it's like they're like, and yet people are making them pay like for 10 people, like 100,000 per this little space sleeping bag it's just horrible. So there is going to be like a direct focus on making that completely illegal, and to where like if that is seen, it's reported completely, like doing something to get these people out of those situations and into like ethical housing.
Yeah, ethical and affordable.
Yeah. So emergency housing plan defines annual objectives specifically by region. I just think that's smart because, again, regions are different.
And it's also very much a focus of the current administration, the whole decentralization.
Yeah, decentralization is super important. And municipality and establishing a mechanism for monitoring and evaluating the progress, which will be regularly reported to Congress. So Minister Montes referred to the urban housing policies in the plan when he mentioned that, quote, the state's role is irreplaceable, because the idea is like the only person that can do this is like the state has to step in to make sure this is being done in an ethical way with that funding, rather than, a corporation maybe taking some of that money and profiting off of it. So the idea is there won't be like profit here from the state. The state
I think
will just...
libertarians are just having a stroke right now.
Okay, whatever. So, where was I? Okay, so here he was talking about that the Chilean people need the political will to build social housing because insecurity and segregation damages our community life. So we also have to focus on that. And he also said, so the emergency housing plan, I've said this like 14 times, significantly addresses Chile's housing requirements. He also mentioned that the solution cannot be immediately reached for everyone, but we will begin today, and we can define the path that will take us forward, right? So the goal is 40%. That is ambitious, but according to them, feasible. If, maybe the next government can push this forward to do 40% more, that would be amazing. Or improve on whatever else needs to be done.
Yeah, or the next government be like, they're poor because they want to be poor.
Or that.
Let's do away with these housing and build more malls because this is what the country needs, more shopping
more
centers.
Malls. The priority during this implementation is to improve the coordination between government agencies and different sectors of society, not just public sectors, but also private sectors, to achieve these objectives. So in particular, Minvu is going to coordinate with other administrative bodies, municipalities, regional governments, to try to streamline these processes. So if they're going to build one of these cooperatives maybe in Talca, they're going to work directly with the government of Talca to say like, okay, so we're not just going to be like...
You just had to pick Talca, didn't you?
It just is always the one that comes to the top of my head.
It's like, you're assigned to take care of business in
because
Talca. They're like, oh man.
Because, so there's so many of these things that we see like that have happened a lot in Chile where it's like, okay, well, this is what Santiaguinos need. You know, we're going to just plop that right down in the middle of Talca. But it's like, no, what the people of this region or this city or this might need something different, maybe a different type of access to internet. Maybe they need heat because they live in the South.
Right.
You know, all of these kinds of things are going to be different. Where do we build these buildings? You know, we have to make sure they're accessible to the hospital, to the clinics, to the schools. You know, these all need to be conversations had with the people who live there, right? And hopefully the local governments know a little bit about what's going on. This is also the idea is working with the local governments will also help to include sanitation, electricity, and utilities in the most convenient and price efficient way. That's their goal. So there are approximately 80,000 families living in encampments, and the plan includes measures specifically aimed at helping them through what's called the Construyendo Barrios, building neighborhoods, program. It will address the 300 encampments or irregular urban settlements that are being rectified, which will regulate and urbanize them to benefit more than 25,000 families. So Minvu estimates that the project house demand in Chile for 2022 is 643,534 houses, based on data from the 2017 census, and the current 80,000 families living in encampments. The plan will address at least 40% of these housing requirements, as I said earlier, mostly concentrated in the metropolitan region, because the metropolitan region also contains around 40% of the national shortage, which makes sense because
everybody living here.
Everybody lives in Santiago. This is then followed by Valparaiso in the Biobío region.
Yep,
and there you go. And so I really hope that works out. You know, don't get too excited. Don't put the horse before the
house.
Don't put the horse before the house.
Because the horse can pull the house.
the horse can't pull the house. You need the barn first. So don't look a gift horse in the mouth, as they say. So we'll
don't look a gift house in the door.
Don't look
whatever.
a gift horse in the house. This is getting away from us.
Yep.
But I'm very hopeful about that. I really hope that works out. I love this focus on this state plus regional planning plus goals with privatization. It's very ambitious, but
it's also a thing like this public-private partnership. It's something that has been taking hold on. I want to say like has been more and more of that in recent years. I used to work for an NGO a few years ago, and they did put a heavy emphasis on this whole thing. It seems to be like the thing these days.
Right, because I think people are really nervous about state-run organizations, especially when like I think housing and state is a trigger word. Like actually I know that, especially for Chileans.
Yep.
There's a lot of fear there by like if the state has too much control with housing, they're gonna take our houses and they're gonna take our jobs and stuff like that. And so if we say no, look, we're gonna work with the private sector, don't worry, people are a little bit more calm and a little bit more like, okay, well let's see how this works out.
Yeah, people don't have a very positive image of the government in the Americas, I would even say. Like in Europe, it's a bit different. I think it's more like, I think I told you I'm watching this political drama series from Denmark right now on Netflix, and they were talking about the welfare state and and it's just like so positive everything. Yeah. It's like, yes, we have high taxes, ain't that great? And I'm just like, this is a completely different reality.
Yeah, it's such a different reality, the way that you talk about things like high taxes versus high taxes, you know, like it's such a different perspective, but it's almost like they're different continents or something.
Crazy shit.
Crazy.
But yeah, go Minvu.
That is that's what's on the docket. I think that's super exciting. Do you have anything else for us?
No, I ain't got nothing else.
I hope you guys liked this episode. It wasn't the longest episode, but we're trying to give you like more short little bite-sized pieces of episodes every other week.
Bite-sized and crispy.
Crispy,
crunchy.
Delicious. Sinkholes.
Yes. houses.
So if you have any questions, any ideas, anything like that, you can always message us on our Instagram or our Facebook at Chile Today Podcast. Our email is chiletodaypodcast@gmail.com if you have questions. We also have a Discord if you're at the $10 or above level on Patreon, where we can talk to you basically instantly about any sort of questions that you have, or if you want to chit chat, or if you are stuck in a metro station, or you want to hang out, whatever. So check out our Patreon.
Yeah, so if you're on Patreon, you get Discords and discounts.
You get Discords, you get discounts, you get free merch,
And
or
you get
like
dissed
merch
by
that,
us.
and we might diss you.
Yeah.
Personal dissing. If you want a personal roast, I'll do it.
Yep.
I'll cook you a roast and I'll roast you. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. So when in doubt,
Gringo out.
bye.
Bye-bye.
The Chile Today podcast is hosted by Lennart Kluge and Bethany Francis and produced by Diego Pinguino Rivera. For more information on the news topics you heard today, check out chiletoday.cl.